Eric Campbell is a biologist who spent his 30-year career at the Bureau of Land Management before retiring in February. Campbell was part of the scientific team assigned to report on the environmental impacts of cattle grazing for the new regulation.
They got my original draft, and they assembled all the drafts from around the Bureau, and someone back in the Washington office read it, and they went, holy moly. And they did not like my section.
Campbell says that his conclusion that the effect of the proposed regulation would be detrimental to wildlife and endangered species was edited out, replaced with conclusions that the cattle industry and the Bush administration wanted.
Long-term adverse impact. That's what you wrote.
Yes.
And this was changed to what?
Their rewrite had it that thus in the long run, wildlife may benefit from this provision, or the changes under the proposed regulations are expected to have no effect on special status species, etc. And there's actually one point in there where they say it will be positive for animals.
So let me get this straight. You wrote that this was going to have long-term adverse impact for animals, and then this was changed to it's going to benefit animals.
Bingo.
That's a big edit.
It's called a 180.
Grazing regulations are the latest battle in a larger war, one between science and public policy. A number of government science programs are on a collision course with the political priorities of the Bush administration. It's a battle where, insiders say, politically inconvenient facts and research are often ignored, altered, or suppressed.
Bill Brooks is a hydrologist who retired in January after 25 years with the Bureau of Land Management. He evaluated the effects of cattle grazing on water resources for the same environmental impact study, or EIS.
Did you write the part that says there will be, and I'm quoting here, no impact on water resources?
Absolutely not. From what I wrote to what came out in the draft EIS is the difference between night and day.
When Brooks, the only hydrologist on the study, submitted his draft raising an alarm about additional pollution to streams from cattle grazing, he says he was removed from the project. The report's final conclusions on water quality, he says, were the opposite of what he had written.
Your name is on that report.
And that's the sticker, because I feel like it impugns my character, my professionalism, and it's a defamation of my personal and professional character. It's unacceptable.
The Bureau of Land Management declined our request for an interview, but a spokesman did tell us that the conclusions by Brooks and Campbell were found to be based on personal opinion and unsubstantiated assertions rather than sound environmental analysis.
All the science that they extracted from my narrative was peer-reviewed science. This was not gray literature. It wasn't from some farmer's journal in, Ely, Nevada. This was peer-reviewed science in major journals.
The BLM says the rewrites were done by other agency specialists and that the changes were based on good science.
Show me the science. Show me the science. And that's one of the things that's typical of this administration. If you come up and make some kind of pronouncement, about science, they're going to say it's flawed. It's flawed science. It wasn't a good study.
Don't you think someone sitting at home could say, well, it's easy for this guy to talk bad about the administration. He likes birds. He's a greenie. He's a liberal. I mean, this is what he does.
I've been a registered Republican since 1969. And I don't think I'm a greenie. I'm a conservationist. I think we ought to be conserving all the natural resources we have here for future generations. That doesn't mean don't use it. It means conserve it. Use it wisely. That's where I come from.
And it wasn't just Brooks and Campbell whose conclusions were dismissed by the BLM. Experts from the Fish and Wildlife Service also warned, among other things, that these changes could have profound impacts on wildlife resources. Those comments never made it into the final report. Another federal agency, the EPA, also warned the BLM. Like Bill Brooks, the EPA raised concerns about the potential for degradation of water quality.
In my 30 years with the federal government, this is the worst administration I've seen for squashing science and rewriting it at will.